I got a question.
Yes, please go ahead, brother.
I know the difference between stateful and stateless, but what happens when you use stateful?
Okay.
But
The- okay. This is the question, like the difference between stateless and stateful widgets.
yeah, stateful is for the content that it might be changed at any time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what happens when you switch to stateless instead?
Okay. Okay.
What goes
Okay.
wrong?
Okay. So let's start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So we'll start by answering the question. So understanding the difference between stateless widget and stateful widget is very important, especially for Flutter. Okay. So let's see one of the class that we created previously. Okay. So in the previous class, we have created this user account class which extends stateless widget. We could have extended stateful widget and it will work fine. Now the question is when you will use stateless widget and when you will use stateful widget. It's very simple. You have to see the purpose, the purpose of this class. If my purpose of this class is just to show some UI components and catch the button click or something and call some external function, then stateless widget is enough. Stateless widget is enough. But if we press some button inside the class and we need to store some values inside the class, as long as you are not like exiting from the screen, then you should use stateful widget. This is one thing. Another thing is like stateful widget gives you something like initiating or setup function called like not set state, called like an init function. What is the name of that? Let's say stateful stateful widget. It has init state. There is a initial state. You can call like some kind of uh, initialization. For example, you want to show the UI, but what? Based on some data loading. So the data will be loaded and then you will refresh it. So this kind of thing you have to use, for this kind of thing you have to use stateful widget. Like the state or the status of the class, whatever inside the class, if it can change and you need to draw the screen based on the state of the object, then it's stateful widget. But if it doesn't depend on data, the UI doesn't depend on data. For example, this one, the bottom navigation bar, if we implement a bottom navigation bar, we will make it like a stateless widget. No need to make it as a stateful widget because it's just showing like three icons with labels. So it's just UI. There is no need for managing states. So does it answer your question?
Yes, it answers. So you use the stateless when uh, you're gonna use UI components, right?
Yes, UI components where by the UI components doesn't depend on the component doesn't depend on some kind of data. Like whatever data needed, you can pass it during creating the object. But after creating the object, you don't need data to decide on the UI layout. So this is the idea. I am not sure whether it's clear or I made it more confusing, but the concept is simple. If you are not sure, where to use stateless or stateful, use stateful, no problem. Use stateful. For example, here, see, you can see here there is no set state function available. You see, in stateless widget, there is no set state function available to call.
So you can't pass any data?
Yeah, because once it is created, there is no need to redraw it, refresh it. It should draw the same thing. So that's why in stateless widget, there is no set state function. But if your UI, if whatever you are drawing inside the class can be different based on change of data, then you should use stateful. Like for example, when we developed in the beginning, like we clicked here the floating action button and it changed the counter. That class was stateful because what? Because the number was changing. So the UI was changing based on the data, based on the state of the class, state inside the class. So you have to save the counter, and based on the counter, you need to redraw the screen. Every time the counter changes, you need to redraw. So in those cases, you must use stateful widget because there is no refreshing if you use stateless. See here, the class is stateless, but we don't have any set state. But if we try to, it will, I don't know, it will work because we didn't implement the state. But let's say stateless, the set state. No, it will not come here because we need to implement the stateful widget, create state. But anyway, so if we do stateful, like for example, what class we made, I think settings, that was stateless. Oh, that was also stateless. In the main, I think we had a code where is the stateful. This is stateless. Yeah, this is the stateful. See here, this was the stateful widget. So why? Because we have some kind of counter which we are saving. Like here, we are saving, and every time we update the counter, we were calling set state. So these options are only available in stateful widget, not in stateless widget. I hope it's now clear, more clear.
Yes, it's now clear.
Okay. So today we have a few more things, few very useful things to learn if you want to do programming in Flutter. The first thing is we will show you like how to use assets. How to use assets. Assets are what? Assets are like images, sound files like MP3 files, any other files that you put inside your app. And during execution, you use them, like either laying out the UI. You have your own icons, so you have to put it as part of your UI, and so on. Now, to use, for example, I will show you how to use, for example, some images. So suppose we are building an app for buying computers. So we have to show pictures of computers, laptops, and people will select and see something like that. So definitely we want to show images, right? Now, in a real app, you will get those images from the server, So that needs some more programming, but we'll start with the easy one, which is if the image is already okay. So if the image is already part of the program, so how can we do it? We need to go back to our file pubspec.yaml. This is the file we studied in the previous class. We saw that it has a lot of useful information. In fact, some of the information you must put it here, otherwise the app will not recognize things. Okay, so one of the thing is we saw or we discussed that if you want to add assets means like some resources, like if you are familiar with Java Android programming, they have something like called R, the R class to access the resources, R for resource. The same concept. We don't have the R here. There is no global R here, but you can access or you can use resources from assets. So to do that, you need to use this line, uncomment this line assets, and under the assets you need to tell what are the assets you have in your program. So for example, they gave two examples like images slash. So images should be a folder. Under it there are files like this. So what we will do is we will try to create, for example, new folder. Can we create from here? Yes, we can create directory from here. So images. So we created a folder called images inside our project directory. Okay, and then we will copy some files to it. So let's try to go to folder. So this is our project folder. So we created this images. So it's empty. I already downloaded a couple of files. So I already downloaded one image for laptop and one image for desktop. So this is the image for desktop we have, and this is the image for laptop. You can download any image, no problem, from internet, from your computer, no problem. PNG is better. PNG is better because it has facilities for like transparent background and so on. So it's good. You can use many other types of images like JPEG, GIF, so on. Okay, so we have two images, 1 and 2. Okay, so we will say to Flutter that we have images, and under the image we have desktop.png, and also we have images slash what was the name? Laptop png. Okay. And once you add images to the resource folders, in many cases you need to actually recompile the program. Otherwise, in some cases, actually in most cases, Flutter will not find the images. So let's try to stop it and rerun the. By the way, you can see here a new version of Flutter is available. So the Android Studio will give you the like news whenever there is an update. To update it, you need to go to Tools, Flutter, and you can say Flutter upgrade. So it will upgrade Flutter. We will not do it now, but you can do it when you are not developing. Okay. Okay. So we have compiled and running the app. So what we want to do is we want to show here the picture. Suppose we want to show the desktop here. Instead of just writing app home, we want to show an image here. So how can we do it? And we want to show this image, one of the images. So let's go back to the class of home. So we have app home. Okay. So, and this app, it's very simple. We made a stateless widget. And in the center, we are showing a text. But now we will remove it. Okay. And we want to show an image. Okay, how to show the image? There are many ways. One of the way is to use image class. And what kind of image? This is an image from, it can be image from a file, from a network, like from a network. Network means you give him the URL of the file, HTTPS, like this kind of address, if you are getting the image from directly from the server. Or you can give the asset file like how we did in the how we are doing now in the image folder. Or file means it's not asset, but you have downloaded the file and copied to the smartphone folder that the OS given to you. So when each program runs or each app runs on iOS or Android, what happens is the operating system gives some access to some folders to write files, to write data from the program. So you can download from online files and you can write on those folders and you can reuse them later on. So this is called file. Also you can use from memory, like already you have read the file, you have put it as a list of unsigned integers, a list of bytes, and you can use them. So image is an interesting class and you need to know about it. So we want to use image.asset and we want to give him images.desktop. So what it is saying, it's giving an error. Okay, so it's a constant. There is a constant. Because it's no longer constant because it's a kind of runtime. So you cannot use a constant before the class. So let's refresh it, and you can see the picture showing. Great. Okay. Are you following me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. If something is not clear, please just let me know. Okay. Now the question is, can we control the size size of the image. Like, let's say we change it to the laptop. Oh, it becomes even bigger. Okay. So for example, if we make it like this, so it takes a lot of space in the screen. So the question is, we want to make it some sort of smaller size. How can we do it? Because different images can have different sizes. So, but when we want to show him a kind of size that depends on the screen size, not on the image size. Because people will use your applications on different types of mobile phones. The screen size and resolutions will be different. So we want our app to be adaptive. So it doesn't depend on some fixed numbers. Runtime, we decide the width and height of the image. Okay. So how can we do it?
We can make it flexible.
Make it flexible. Yeah, that's one way. Flexible. But flexible will try to take the maximum space. If the image is too big, he will take the full width or full height. But we want to like clip it. Like, for example, we want this image to take, suppose, 1/3 of the width, whatever the width, we don't care. We want to make sure the width of the image is 1/3 of the width, and height is also same. Like, we want to put him in a square box, and the height and width will be same and equivalent to 1/3 of the width. So what can we do? There are different ways of doing it. You need to, one of the way is to put the image inside a sized box. Sized box we used for some spacing in the previous class. We didn't spend much time about it. Sized box is a like kind of invisible box, and you can mention him the size and put it inside another component. So sized box, you can see here it takes width, height, and child. So we say width is suppose 64, and height is also 64 pixels, and the child is our image. Okay, now it becomes smaller. Great, but we didn't solve the problem properly. We said that the size should depend on the screen size. So if you make it fixed 64, yeah, it's good, but it will vary widely based on the screen resolution. If the screen resolution is very high, 64 will look small. So for some screen, the image will look small, very small. For other screens, it will look big. But we don't want. We want the size to be adaptive. Like, for example, if you go like this, see, the size is same, even if the width is higher. Okay, because you fixed it 64 by 64. So what we want to do is we want to know the width of the screen and take the 1/3 of it, suppose. How can we do it? How can we know the screen resolution runtime? Is it possible to know? The good news is yes, we can know the screen sizes where our app is running. So to do that, there is a class given by Flutter called media query. There is a class. You can call it directly. It's a kind of system-wide class, and there is a way to call it. There is a called off class. In many Flutter classes, there is like you can call without creating instance. You can call the function by use through their off classes. So off media query of context. Out in the context, there is a variable called size, and the size is based on a size class. Size class has width and height, so it has a width, so you get the width. So now if you run it, say we copy this, there is an error. What error we have? Oh, there is the error, double comma. Okay, so it's based on the width. So but we want to take 1/3 of the width, so we will multiply with 1/3, multiply with 1/3, and now we have an image where the width and height will depend runtime on the screen width. And this concept is very important using the media query class, because the goal of good UI design is your interface should adapt based on the screen size, screen resolution, usability, user selected settings, and so on. So you should design your UI keeping in mind that there are hundreds types of mobile phones in the market, and not only just one kind of resolution. And people are using different mobile phones with different OS versions. So that's why whenever you need to like fix width and height, make it dynamic based on the screen width and screen height. Do you understand this?
Sorry.
Yes.
Why you multiply by 0.3?
Oh, 0.3 because I wanted the width and height of the box like to be 1/3 of the screen width. You can make it 0.5, 0.2. So the image width is now half of the screen.
Okay.
It's a design like decision, like how much, what is the size you want to like show. Okay, now another question is, sometimes image the image is smaller than the width and height. It might happen that the image that you are showing is originally very small, or not of the size that you are selecting. Suppose your size is, how much is the size? Suppose how much is our plotting size? You can very easily print it. Actually here, you can print it. So we are having 214 pixels. This width of this box is 214 pixels. Okay, so it might happen that the original image is smaller the size of the original image is smaller than the box. So in that case, what will happen? So the good thing is, in the image class, it provides a parameter called fit. There is a parameter called fit. There are many other parameters which can be used, and they are sometimes very good, useful. The fit parameter is very useful. The fit parameter tells you that this image, when you show it on the screen, how it will feel the parent. Like the parent of this image, for parent of this laptop image is his parent is for this image, the parent is the size box. So there is a relationship between the size of the child and the size of the parent, because the UI is laid out as a tree. Those who have computer science background, you know that the data structure of tree, there is a data structure of tree, there is data structure of graph. So they plot it like a tree. So safe area, his child is center, his child is size box, his child is this asset. So it goes like a parent child relationship. So it's very important to understand sometimes this relationship, like to understand how the UI will be laid out on the screen. So this image, how he will feel the parent, because his limitation is the size of the size box. So you want to make sure either the image takes the whole size of the parent, or it can take his original size, the maximum what it can be. It can cover, it can contain, like there are several. So to do that, you have to tell, like for example, there is a fit parameter which takes a type of fit, is a kind of box fit. It takes a box fit. So you can call the box fit dot, now box fit dot contain, cover, fill height, fill width, like this kind of thing. So if you say fill, he will fill the parent. If you say cover, it's like big one, or even the small one, it will cover the whole space, and so on. So if it is contained, then big images will be scaled and put it inside the like parent. If parent is small, but image is big, so on. So we can try and see different parameters, but here you will not see much differences because the image is big. So content will be same because the image is actually bigger than the size of the parent. So if we say fill, let's see what happens. Again the same. If we say cover, it's again the same because the image is already big. If you say fill height, to let's make the height bigger. Now see the difference. So we said that fill height. So the image has been stretched. Image has been stretched to fill the height of the box, because now we gave the height of the size box bigger than the width, and we asked the image to fill the height. So he expanded the image and fill the height. So if you say fill width, so he filled the width because width was smaller, so also he scaled the height down. If we say cover, it's similar like fill width, fill height, but it will stretch to cover the whole thing. If we say fill, see here, now he filled the box, but stretching in appropriately. Like the height is stretched much and the width is stretched less, because you asked him to fill the container, fill the size box. Okay. So depending upon the requirements and your idea of the image sizes, you can select. So we said say contain. So even if the I can show you the size of the box by using container. Container, make a color dot colors dot to with opacity 0.5. See here, the height is much higher, but when we say contain, it will be contained inside. But when you say fill height, the image will be stretched to fill the full height. See here, stretched. So for us, cover is a good one. No, it's not cover, contain. So you should know about these things, because displaying images are like fundamental to most of the applications. Most of the applications, they have like image display. Okay, so if you don't use color, then using a size box, you will say use size box. So here replace with size box, because we are not using any particular property of containers, so better use size box. You can use size box, and it will give you the same results. Okay, great. Now, before we take a break for Salat, I want to show you that how can you like make this image clickable, because in most cases you show the image and user will tap it, right? Now if you tap it, I am trying to click it, nothing happens. How can you make this image clickable, tappable, so it responses to something? It responses to something.
You can add on pressed.
Yeah, so we have to see, is there on pressed? Let's see, go to this one. Do we have on pressed here? We don't have. The image.asset, it has some function, but for different purpose, for not for clicking. Okay, so what can we do? What can we do? This is also a very important thing to know about Flutter, and almost every time you will need it. That's called, you need to know something which is called gesture detector. It's a like a big topic. So if we go to flutter.dev, and if you search something called gesture detector. Okay. So it's the UI where you catch taps, drag means like you drag up or drag down, like this thing, vertical drag, horizontal drag, this thing, left, right, swipe, long press, short press, like double tap, all these things. Tap, and tap can have like step start, tap end, all these things. So this is called gestures. There are different types of gestures: tap, double tap, long press, vertical drag, horizontal drag, pan. Pan is like zoom. When you use like Google Map, you use double finger to zoom in, zoom out. You can do also these things in Flutter, like zoom in, zoom out by using it's called pan. So these things, there is a video for this widget of the week, gesture detector. It's very important to know about gesture. So we can use it actually it's very easy to use, most of them, unless you are using this dragging. Dragging means you need to actually call several of them. it needs little more coding, but for this application it's very simple. So what we will do is we will remove this image and put it under gesture detector. Okay, we have taken the size box. Inside it we had our images and we moved it as a child for the class gesture detector. Gesture detector itself is a widget, but it doesn't show anything. It's a widget for detecting gestures, but it doesn't show anything. So if you bring your mouse over gesture detector, you see so many functions. Oh, all of them are functions. See here, so many functions that you can implement. What kind of gestures do you want to detect on that child? What kind of? So what we want to do, we want to do on tap. So let's implement on tap. On tap doesn't take any parameters, so we can write it like this. And suppose we just print, you have clicked this image, and let's reload the app. Now look at the screen. Look at the screen here. When we tap, it shows, or it calls this function. It calls this function and print something. Now we will do something here. I will show you another important thing, how to show the messages, like some useful thing. We'll do something here. But to show you how gesture detector works, like you click here, see, it prints something. So that's something called gesture detector, and it's very, very useful. You can make anything clickable, tappable, by putting that UI component inside a gesture detector. Put anything inside the gesture detector that implement those functions, one or more of this function. So you say you have single clicked this. If we catch on double tap, we say print, you have double tapped this image. Now see here, if you tap, you will call the single tap, on tap. But if I double tap, you have double tap. So I double tap here. Maybe you will not feel it, but I am double tapping, and it's calling the double tap on double tap function. Similarly, you can implement the other ones, like on long press. On tap down means the moment you start the tap, he will call it. On tap up means when you remove the finger, he will call it, like this. So it's very, very useful to know about gesture detector, because in many times you show images, you build something, you build a container, and you want to make it clickable. You want to make it clickable. Like if you have your own icon, so, and it's an image, so you show the image and use gesture detector to make it clickable. So inshallah, we will take a break now, and after the break I will show you how to show toast, like what is called snack bar in Android, and which is called toast in Flutter. So we will stop here for the break. Are you following me?
Yes.
Yes.